All right, let's take a look at copper now. So copper has come down a bit too much, a bit too fast. It didn't go up that much at all. And I was saying, given how much the markets moved up and the dollar had come down, it was the best environment for copper to move up. And what doesn't go up much will come down more. And that's what seems to have happened. So for me, target is low 350s, 3.55 at least. I mean, that's really one day away. Look at the close on Friday. Yes, the dollar could come down, but really, I think the market's going to come down a bit. It's gone up way too much, and copper tends to go down with the market more than the dollar's movement. So for me, copper should come down very weak on the way down, pretty weak on the way up. So more of the same. Let's look at 3.5453, and then we'll see what happens. Maybe a small bounce and then a flush, almost regardless of what happens elsewhere. That's my take. So copper very weak. Natural gas also weak. It's come down. I mean, another retracement is a little frustrating, but acceptable. But now it's actually closed the last 2 days, especially, and especially Friday's close. It's below this horizontal. It's definitely below this ascending. And for me, I mean, it should have already reversed. It could still reverse and climb back into this ascending, but it may just come all the way back down and test 305. Might as well, to be honest. And what would be bullish would be a move back down and then a strong close above the lows and hopefully in the green. That would be a healthy reversal signal, one that's almost worth this entire move down. So a move back down to 305 and then a close like a 315, just so it's actually green. That would signal, okay, a move back up to the highs probably. So natural gas weak, but look, we have support nearby, so let's see what happens there. Otherwise, it could just reverse straight away back into the ascending. Let's see what happens. But natural gas, I'm still tempted to say that it's destined for a fall to a 450 sort of squeeze gap fill. But so far, it's just this wait for a pop, and then the pops come, and it's really pretty subdued. So bit of an anticlimax. Let's see what happens. Oil. Now this one, when it came all the way back down here, I thought, okay, it could go sideways a bit, then move back up, but no, it decided to puke and then puke more. I really was surprised by the fact that 78 didn't hold. But look, there's an immediate reversal, and now it's back, basically back at 78. So for me, it's still a buy where it is now. And I would not be surprised if it moves all the way back up to 82. Actually, I think this was overdone. Just as moves get overdone on the way down, it can be overdone on the way up. So I think oil will actually keep climbing. The close was quite nice on Friday, so it could definitely happen. But then I would expect 82 to be resistance, and then we may just be stuck between this range for a while, and ultimately until we break out of, I think, this descending. I'm still favoring a move to the upside, so favoring move to test the 90s. So maybe a move back up to 82, then a bit of back and forth, and then maybe test this breakout of this descending. Let's see. But I do think it will keep going back up. This move all the way down here was a bit over the top, really. And that's why I didn't expect it. Uranium's just constantly grinding sideways up. So higher highs, higher lows. Another decent day. Sometimes it outperforms the market. Sometimes it doesn't. The market's been going up pretty much non-stop. So I think it's been underperforming the markets, but still, compared to the other commodities, it's the best one for, I mean, short term, medium term at least. So I think, I mean, you could actually add this little trend line here. There's a little zoomed in one. So I think we're going to test this 27 point, let's say 6 zone. And then let's see what happens. If we close above 27.665, let's say, it should immediately test the highs, 28.5, and then we should be on breakout watch for 31.5. Otherwise, let's see, it could just, I mean, at some point very, very soon, there will be a decision. And if I had to choose one, it'd be a breakout. Continuation of the trend is your friend, unless the only thing that can pour cold water over this is a market drop. We've seen uranium go down on market drops. That would bring it back to, I mean, there's a lot of support for uranium. I mean, even if it closed below this general ascending, this doesn't actually mean much. It's just sort of a general trend line for me. But let's just say it closed like below 25.5. We could just go a bit lower, but there's support here. And even if we kept on going down, there's more and more support that remains bullish. So uranium is just a fantastic buy the dip candidate, and I think it's just going to continue doing what it's doing. And if it doesn't, it's got lots of time to prove that it's a very good buy the dip candidate. So uranium just remains very, very strong. Gold. So close way below 1950, so that's done. For me, we're going to retest this descending trend line. So it depends how long it takes to get there. There could be an immediate flush Monday, Tuesday, and then it'll probably be 1910-ish. If it takes a bit longer, we could even test 1900. But for me, it's more likely to bounce around 1910. That does entail a 20, 25, 30 buck drop from where we are. So that could happen. Prepare. It's not that much actually, given how high gold is. $30 used to be a lot. Now it's not too much. And then you should really find some decent dip buying and then a reversal. Remember how far we've come. So it's normal that there's a drop, a retracement, a healthy pullback. And for me, 1950 was the first level. The fact that we're just below it is no big deal. It's just all about how much the miners go down. What you want to see actually is the miners not go down, like a couple of days where they're unchanged or even green despite gold being red. That would be a very bullish reversal signal too. Sometimes the miners will lead the metal. But gold for me, close below support, kind of in no man's land. I don't see much support. You could say 1930 is a small zone, but for me, it's not. It's really the descending and then the 1900 psychological and technical line. And below that, 1885, we remember that used to be a level. So I haven't had to add any levels because I think they've been correct for a while. Let's look at silver. So silver, it's harder to call. I prefer to read gold to decipher silver. But for me, silver, no obvious support zone where it is, a bit like gold. Could you say 22.2 is a small level just because of this candle here, because of this candle here? No. Is 22 level normally psychologically every sort of 50-cent increments silver has a level, but actually for 22 I don't see a level. Even psychologically, I think it's 21.8. So I think, if gold does start to move down from wherever it is, 1938 to 1910-ish, that should equal a move down to 21.8 in silver. I'm just guessing, but I feel like that's where silver will find support. I mean, that's a minus 2% drop in silver, and in gold, a move down to, let's say, 1910-ish, minus one and a bit, not even 1.5. And that does kind of make sense. So that's what I'm thinking with silver. And that would be a good time to reverse for silver, because if you start to close below 21.8, really the next level is the 1810 gold level. And that's way too much of a retracement. So it would be good to see a move down to here and then a bounce and a close way off its low of day and hopefully above 22. And I think from there you can start to reverse. And for gold, that would be, a bounce off the trend line, a close above 1930, something like that. And then you start to reverse. Obviously, it depends what's happening in the dollar, yields, the markets, they're always correlated. But if I had to choose one, the dollar, but maybe gold's ready to do its own thing regardless of the other elements. Let's look at the miners, starting with GDXJ. So obviously with what happened with gold, that was a move down. The close is not ideal, but it wasn't at the low of day. It's kind of around support, very rough support. You can see the low of day here on these candles. It is kind of 32.8-ish. That's where we closed. If I just extend this, it's a general zone. You can see down here the low. So we're kind of around the level, but I do think there'll be a continuation. So let's see how far the miners go down if the metals continue. But we are kind of at a mini support zone. We definitely need to climb back up. Let's see. It's certainly not impossible for a move all the way down. There are some miners that actually are at their lows. I'm thinking kind of Newmont, Pan American Silver. There are some big seniors that already are at the lows. And look, now we're looking at the GDX itself. This is more the medium seniors. And you can see we're not at the lows. Also, like the GDXJ, we are kind of tagging a level. closing just around a bit of a level, not a strong one. But I mean, it makes sense that it's sort of, you know, lower than the prior days because of what's happening with gold and silver. But you can kind of argue that we are holding a bit of a level. Again, a bit of a move all the way back down to its lows, which is where it was when gold was at 1810. That is a 5.5% move down. And again, if you start to look at some of the miners, and I'll make a portfolio video very soon, look at new lows, right? I mean, it's looking like a nice reversal signal now. I'll make a comment on that when I cover my portfolio, but some of the big senior miners, they are actually lower than they were when gold was at 1810. Obviously, that's earnings related, but that's something to consider when you think about the fact that the GDXJ are over 5% off their lows. So what if they start to move down to their lows? Then, you know, maybe some of these big, very, very established and sound miners have to go lower. So consider that before you jump in a bit too fast. Barrick Gold is not one of those. You can see that's following the GDX more than these Newmonts and Pan American Silvers that actually are at new lows. Anyway, I won't go into these too much because I'm about to cover that in my portfolio video, but I hope that is a little instructive there on the commodities and the miners in particular.